Charlotte, and welcome to my podcast, Influence, Inspire, Impact. Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 2 of my podcast, Influence, Inspire, Impact, and today I am lucky enough to be joined by my 5th grade teacher, Miss Gale, and over the years I've been blessed to have some really great teachers who have truly made an impact on me and the person that I am now, but getting to be here with one of the most influential teachers of all my years in school, it's pretty awesome. So this is Miss Gale, and she's the best.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you here too. I haven't seen you in so long in person.
I know, it's so great to connect. So great to connect.
But Miss Gale is, I think, one of the most inspiring people I've ever met, and she really has molded me into. I mean, there are still things today where I can't remember a time since 5th grade where I haven't taken something that you've said or thought about something that we did in your class, or, you know, like it could be something as simple as the school play where I played Bernie Sanders, or something bigger like just your pieces of advice and your wisdom, and you're just a very special and inspiring person for me. So I wanted to have you here in hopes that you would. I'm so glad you were able to do this too. I was like, please.
Well, that's certainly high praise, and it's the ultimate of what you want. You hope, you aspire to. In your very best moments, you reach the students in the way that apparently I've reached you. So there you go.
You did. You reach a lot of students. I know that for sure. Like Caroline being one of them. I think you're Hanley as a whole, and you are a topic of a lot of conversation in our house, especially when we started going through like home movies and the Bernie rally came up, and I just remember like being taken right back to Sammy as Donald Trump and Lindsay as Hillary Clinton. Oh, I love that.
You guys were so creative. That was amazing, and I'm always on the edge, like, am I going to get in trouble for letting this go? But you guys pulled that together, and it was so funny and creative, and it was right in the midst of that whole, oh my gosh. And I was I'm always amazed how aware 5th graders are about things. Like, I think, oh, they're kids. You guys knew everything about this campaign.
I didn't. I just let Redden take it over because it was like her idea in the first place. You were like, I had surgery, and you were like, oh, I want you to be Bernie. I was like, okay.
Imagine that you played Bernie Sanders. That's pretty remarkable.
I had the wig.
I remember.
Oh. The thing I remember walking out there was like you guys forgot to you had everybody cheer backstage in rehearsals when I was out for the rally, and I would like pause between each thing, right. And I walked out there and nobody cheered, and then all of a sudden I hear Miss Emerson like screaming because she realized nobody was cheering.
Oh, like theater, that's what happens.
Oh, that was one of the best times that whole year. Sammy, actually, we saw him at Jake's place, I think, before COVID last year. And he said that his favorite experience, I think, of all of elementary school was that play.
Oh, he was masterful in that role. He was so good.
He was just, oh my God,
so fun. And awesome. He relished the opportunity. He took it to heart, right?
Oh, I think that was like the best thing for our class, like the perfect sort of exit from the school. I don't know, Miss Gale's class is the superior class, I think.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
I don't know.
Well, one of the reasons I really I always try to do something along that vein, if at all possible, because of what you're saying. It's any kind of creative process where you are all relying on one another to pull each other through. You're honoring each other's creative process. You're using your talents, and so some people's talents was like writing it. Some people's talents are really heavily into making it work and flow on stage. Some people's talents are into the performing end of it, but it's no good without one is no good without the other, and it's a very huge it's the ultimate teamwork experience. And when you pull it off and it goes well, it's just, there's no feeling like that, right? I mean, you're still talking about this little fifth grade production that you did those years ago, right?
Yeah.
So because of that power right there. So I'm glad that when I'm able to do that, and I'm it's COVID time, so we're going to try to figure something out. But it's been a trick to do this. This year was like we really couldn't pull anything together because we weren't there. Like we ended so abruptly. So I'm hoping this year we can plan. I mean, we are, we're in school, like we're not close, but we're in school. So hopefully we can do something.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I remember like our class being, I think, the last big play that you did. Just because of like availability of like the con room stage and everything.
Oh, I know. That's right. They took over and now, I couldn't get stage. I couldn't get on it because every class was doing performances, which is great, which means more kids were getting an opportunity to get up there and develop their skills of performing on stage, whether like for music classes and stuff. But you can't, you gotta need rehearsal in the space you're in, especially if you're not professionals. Like you need a little time.
Absolutely.
So, anyway,
I don't know. That was awesome. But I wanted to start some of your questions.
Sure.
Oh, here you are. Okay. So I just wanted to sort of start with what made you want to be a teacher or teach fifth grade specifically? I mean, I can't remember whether or not you jumped around in terms of grades, but I wanted to ask you that to sort of start.
Okay. Well, I didn't go to teaching directly. I took a little circuitous route to get here. I had started actually education as a music teacher. Like that was when I first went to college, that's what I was aspiring to. I was studying voice and I was studying music and the different instruments, and then I got hooked into theater, and then that sucked me away from from music ed, and then and I also got heavily invested in psychology. So I ended up not having a teaching degree when I came out of college, but two really important skills: performing and psychology. So there you go. I use them in my life every day.
Now I never knew that actually, but I think I can see that thinking back to like your class and how I think in tune you were with everybody's. You were just like an understanding teacher, and you understood how our feelings worked, which I think made being in your class like a very enjoyable and sort of safe experience for all of 5G now and back in the day, but.
That's something I would aspire to in my as an educator. And so anyway, I took a circuitous route. I ended up having a family, and I was working in business. And then I was working. I ended up in teaching as an opportunity. Like I remember during the years I was working and my children were young, I was thinking, why didn't I go into teaching? I think that's probably where I'm meant to be. And here I am, doing commercial lending, and, which was fine and interesting in a lot of ways. And I met a lot of people, and learned a lot of interesting things about the way companies work and the world works. But I still harken back to thinking, why didn't I finish my degree in education? I think I should be in teaching. And then what happened is, I guess fortunately, the bank I was working for, along with many other banks during that period of time. So I could see that I was going to be without a job because of where I was in the organization. I said, time to go back to school for education. So I got my degree as a teacher and started. And for fifth grade, what I love about fifth grade is just really what I was saying before. Fifth graders are funny and clever, and they're more aware than you expect they're going to be, and but they're still open. They're still childlike, right? Fifth graders, they're not a little quite as jaded maybe as seventh and eighth graders. And so I think that's one of the things that attracts me to that grade. Also very independent, or certainly on their way to independence. Hey, there's something to be said for all the grades. I've taught second grade, love second grade, so much fun, very different. and I've taught fourth grade, and then I did a few like long-term sub gigs when I was trying to, get hired permanently in kindergarten. All have great qualities and stuff. I think for me personally, though, the connection with fifth grade is strong because of that independence, because of that awareness. Hey, half the time I learn more from my fifth graders than they learn from me.
I don't think that's true.
I learn a lot now, especially in the tech. That's all I do. It's like, hey, how do we do this? Somebody show me. And like 3 kids will come over and show me. I'm like, all right, good, thanks. I didn't know how.
Like my year, that was the first, I was saying to my mom the other day, I was like, Mom, Miss Gale's class, like 5 years ago, was the first time we ever used like Google Classroom. And I literally remember sitting there and us all trying to figure out how it worked. And you were just like, I don't even know. I have it in my archive classes still.
I don't even know. I didn't know. None of us. We were all figuring it out together.
I mean, that was 2016.
That was 2016, and the imaginations I was having at the time with Mrs. O'Connell, my sister who teaches at the time first grade, like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't know, I have to ask the fifth grader. She goes, well, find out and tell me.
None of us had any idea. We were like, how do you turn it in? And you like had to look at all these things like the school had sent you for how to
let's figure it out.
Yeah, like all the Google Drive stuff and the Google Classroom, like all of that was new. And I think back, I'm like, wow, technology has come a long way in like 5 years.
Even in 5 years, right?
I mean, crazy. If we had been back in 2016 and COVID had hit, I don't think anybody would actually know what to do. Like,
no, what to do? It's true. It's true. So yeah. So anyway, fifth graders, I love them. They're clever and funny.
Yeah, I mean, Margaret really wants you for fifth grade. But
fingers
we'll see
crossed. I'm not in charge of that, but
I know.
Hey, listen. Parents aren't allowed to ask, but
not anymore. Yeah.
No.
And she hasn't had any of the teachers Caroline and I had, which is
really?
Nope, none. Oh. Yeah.
But she's still had a good run.
Oh, she has. She's loved she has Mr. O'Neill right now. Loves him. She is. I think they are so. I never had Mr. O'Neill, but back when he taught fifth grade and like we would do the science switching, he was so funny, and he and Margaret, I think, sort of click in that way.
Right, they click. That's great. I love hearing that. Those connections are so important. Like so I mean, as for teachers, for students clearly, but as a teacher, that's like one of your big goals. Find what that is with that kid, because that's going to be the thing that drives, then you sort of have an in, like, to say, hey, let's talk about this one thing, whether it's how great you're doing on something, or here's an area where you can do better, or an opening where if they have a need to talk about, they feel safe coming to you because you're connected, right?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did. My second question for you, I think you sort of covered this a little, but I wanted to ask you, being a teacher who for me really helped me find myself then and still now, how do you help your students find themselves? I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean,
well, I guess I see what you mean. How do I honor for them, or help them honor in themselves what it is? Because fifth grade is the beginning of all that comparing and measuring up and awareness of that. And so I definitely listen. If there's one thing I have learned, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit to talk about some of, this sort of covers a couple of your questions, but I want to give you a little story about
story time.
My great aunt Madeline, she was the youngest sister in my grandmother's family, my father's mother. And my father's mother was a kind of a, tough taskmaster. She's a smart lady, but she was pretty rigid. But her younger daughter, my grandmother married James Gale, and her younger sister Madeline married his little brother Russell. So sisters married brothers. But they were not close at all. They were I want to say 12 years apart in age, 11 or 12 years apart in age. And they couldn't be more different in personality. But my great aunt Madeline was the kind of person who, it didn't matter when you showed up or what you looked like. And I would see her a lot because in the summer we have a little beach shack out on Long Island, and she had one.
I'm gonna mute myself. Somebody's calling again. You keep talking. I'm just gonna mute myself.
It's all good. And anyway, so she lived close enough, so I would just pop in and go see her as a young child all the way up through until she passed, and I watched and I noticed, and one of the things that she did that what made the biggest impression on me, I think probably of any person in my life, is that it did not matter when you walked in that door or what she was doing. She could have her hands up to here and whatever she was doing. When you walked in that door, she would put down everything and she would say, "How are you? Come on in. Here, let me wash my hands. What, you want a lemonade?" When you're older, "Hey, you want a beer?" Like whatever, come and sit down. I want to hear all about it. And it made me feel, important and cared for. And even if I was a crummy little 6-year-old kid or a troubled 15-year-old girl, it didn't matter. I was important. I was important, and I realized in my own world, I realized that is probably the most important thing you can do in a relationship with anybody, is to listen. So I will go out of my way to listen and understand what it is that drives, or what it is that troubles, or what it is that that children, or the students in my class, what feeds them, or what scares them. And if I know that, I can honor it. I can build them up. I can say, "Look, you are so good at this. This is amazing what you can do." And I can give them that self-assurance in the areas where, especially like, going to 5th and 6th and 7th grade, there's a lot of doubt going on, right? And comparisons going on. And I can also do that in the community. It's one thing to say to you, what an amazing writer you are.
Thank
It's
you.
another thing to say to the class, like, "Who's better than Charlotte? Aren't we glad Charlotte's in this class? It's amazing." And they'll be like, "Yeah, she's right." Who's funnier than whoever? Who's funnier than Sammy?
Nobody.
Right? Nobody's funnier than Sammy. Isn't it great that we are all here and we all have these strengths and we all bring them to the same table, right? So I feel like that is one of the things I aspire to do, and I think I kind of learned that from my great aunt Madeline, who, by the way, my daughter.
What'd you say? I think you kind of froze there. Yeah, I can't hear you anymore, actually, which is probably not good. Yeah, I can't hear you anymore.
Oh no.
Oh, wait, that was back. Okay, that was kind of freaky.
You were on mute. I was like, I don't hear you.
I was like, oh no. Yeah, but you said something about your great aunt and your daughter?
My daughter's named after my great aunt Madeline.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Until she is in my life.
Oh.
I have one daughter, and she's named after my great aunt Madeline. So.
Aw, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're definitely good at that. You completely indulged and understood my obsession with cake back in 5th grade. Oh God.
How can you? There's nothing bad about that.
Oh my God, I don't even know what brought that on, but like I became known as like the cake girl in our class. Like that was just my thing.
Oh, good. Nothing wrong with cake, Charlotte.
Nothing. Okay. You kind of already covered that. 2 more questions since you covered one. Okay. What is your recipe for success as a teacher who obviously I know makes a heavy impact on others? Like just sort of what's your recipe for success as a teacher? I mean, you sort of covered this as well, but.
Well, I guess I did. I mean, you have to, I feel like one of the most important, aside from connecting and listening and honoring what the strengths there are so that you can be available to support what weaknesses there are. Because, hey, we are complicated. Nobody's, rarely are you great at everything. And if you are great at everything, then probably there's some other area that you just don't talk about because you're worried, because now you have to hold up to a standard of being great at everything, right? So that's one area. But aside from that, from that is I strive to be current on my understanding of what's going on, whether it's academically, whether it's books for my readers, whether it's the video games that all the kids are playing, or whether it, right? So I find myself doing things like, all right, what's TikTok? I guess I better download TikTok and find out what TikTok is. I don't have any, kids in my world that are, except for these kids that I live with every day in my classroom. So that are that age. My grandson's too young for TikTok, so he'll probably be gone by the time he's of an age to do it, right? So I feel like that's important too, because the world I grew up in is tremendously different than the world that my students are growing up in. Hey, look, my high school years and college years are now considered historical fiction. I feel very old when Mrs. Heidi told me that.
Mrs. Heidi's like that. Oh my God, I love Mrs. Heidi.
I know she's the best. I hate to tell you this, but the 70s are now historical fiction, and that was like almost 10 years ago. So the 80s also are. So like high school and college now, any books set in those years, historical fiction.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's crazy, actually. Don't worry.
I feel like that's part of the answer to that question. I think that's really important. Not that I can't have the knowledge or experiences that I've had, but it helps me make connections with kids to be aware of what's going on in their world and just have an understanding of it, how important this is in their world. And if I don't know what it is, I can't connect on that way.
You've always been very current, I think. Like, I remember, I think I came to visit you when Fortnite was a big thing. And you were like, oh yeah, I know about Fortnite. I'm like, oh wow, Miss Gale, wow, Fortnite.
I don't generally know it in depth, but I know enough about it to understand what the attraction is when they're talking about it. I downloaded, I remember going around trying to get, what do you call them, the little, what was that one on your phone? You had to be near them and you could catch them, the little Pokemon. I had Pokemon Go. I remember going around trying to catch little characters just to see what they were talking about.
I mean,
like a couple of weeks, just enough to say, okay, I sort of see where this is going. Now there's going to be levels and this and that. So when they're talking about something, I could know what it was they were talking about.
I mean, you're more current than me. Like, I don't have TikTok. My mom would never. Oh God, the phone again. My mom would never actually let any of us get that. But right. I don't even know what that really is. Like, my friends like try to teach me dances. I'm like, I literally can't do it.
Pretty much what it is. It's like, it's so interesting.
It's like renegades. Like, that's the only thing I know. Like, you're better than me. You're more current than me. Like, I don't even really know what the point of TikTok is.
Right. I think they're used for a lot of things, but I think mostly the young crowd, that's what it is. It's these little dance like challenges that they do, and then they feel themselves doing it, and which is, I mean, nothing wrong with that. That's kind of fun. I mean, especially if you like to dance or like to hang out with your friends or you like music, why not?
I mean, I'm a very clumsy person, so I mean, TikTok dances will never ever be something I would be interested in doing. But we saw some people doing like TikTok dances in the middle of Chelsea Piers, and the pure disgust on my mom's face. I cannot she was like, why are they doing this in the middle of Chelsea Piers on the stairs where people need to go up and down? And it was so funny. I was like, Mom, I don't even know. Like, don't look at me.
Who knows? It may have been a challenge,
Yeah, they were just like dancing, and like we were walking by, and I was like trying not to laugh. Okay. I have one more major question for you. This was newly added after the episode with my mom, but I wanted to know, you sort of covered one of these, obviously, with your great aunt, but what are some of your inspirations?
Some of my inspirations. Well, that's a great question, Charlotte. There are many, and in different and for different reasons and in different ways. I would have to say that that I have a number of students that have been big inspirations to me, and I would say, you being one of them.
Me? Thank you.
Yeah, it's true. You have a lens on life, on your life, and which has not been without challenges in certain areas. That still keeps you positive. I mean, here you are trying to understand more, be creative, find a way to make it through this pandemic, and that's such a positive. You have such a positive slant on
Thank
things.
you.
And I know you're not positive all the time. I'm sure you have good bad days and all.
I was just saying to my mom, like, Mom, she's always like, so what if I like videotaped you right now and sent it to like your favorite people? How would you feel? I'm like, Mom, they all know I'm not like happy and bubbly all the time. Like, that's just not something. That's just not. I mean, for the most part, I try to stay pretty positive because I feel like
you do. I mean, you do, and in face of some significant obstacles over the years, and that's
quite a few.
Yeah, that's inspirational. I mean, I've not had to deal with any of those kinds of obstacles, but I also find inspiration in I love that you're sort of focusing on women. I mean, not that men don't deserve a voice or a stage. But that, I think, for me, I grew up in my family. There are 5, and I was number 4, and the 3 older than me were boys, and I chased them all around. But this was before Title IX, so in the neighborhood games, I was like one of the better athletes because hey, I had 3 big brothers, chasing them around. I learned a lot. But then when it came to actual organized sports like Little League, I wasn't allowed to play. So I ended up changing over to sort of music and theater because I sort of lost an opportunity in those years. But I was struck with the unfairness of that. Like, why can't I play? I'm good, and then I faced similar things as growing through school and going into the business world as a woman in a position of authority, but never getting the same place that.
I can't hear you again, but still no sound is back again, but I have no idea. Can you hear me? Oh God, now you just froze.
Connection. Am I back?
Oh, here we go. Yeah, you're back. I was like, oh no, it's happening again.
Okay, I don't know where I left off, but so over the years where I was facing that challenge with having being a woman in a man's world, essentially in business, and not being able to get and I would see it over and over again. It'd be so unfair, and women were just perceived differently, and sometimes, and sadly, they still are in many ways. I could say the same words a man said, but he'd get accolades for it, and I'd be pushy or something, right? It's like, but he just said that. Like, why is it pushy when I say it? So I lived some of that. So a lot of my inspiration came from women who had succeeded, all and still today. Like, Kamala. Oh my God, how great is it that Kamala is our vice president elect? She is somebody who has inspired me more recently. Malala, women like back in the day, really successful women in our world like Golda Meir, who you probably would have to look up, but just all different women who have sort of crashed through some different barriers to because they also still had to do regular life, right? And sometimes it's just parents, other moms that I've seen, not just in my personal world or in my school world, even, like, wow, this parent is like, this mom is amazing. Like, she has a job and she has these kids, and this one has all these issues and this one has all these issues, and yet look, here she is, like, showing up at every meeting and helping out in the PTO, and that's inspirational to me. Like, you're pushing beyond and you are keeping that positive thing and making everything good for your family, even though I'm sure your mind is thinking about this crazy work that you have and how are you going to make this work. So a lot of my inspiration comes from women who have been successful and graciously so.
So is it going? And your great aunt as well.
Yes, my great aunt Madeline was one of those people.
That's amazing. Those are thank you for having me be one of, that means a lot actually. Coming from somebody who inspired me a great deal, and I think helped me a lot and still continues to help me with sort of my medical stuff and everything. And you just know, because I think 5th grade was the first year I had the problems with my nose. Actually. And so that surgery I had when I was Bernie, right before I was Bernie, that was the first surgery I had, and I had it with my nose, and I had never had experience with that. And I think just the way you handled that and the way the class handled that and the atmosphere you created was a very safe space and supportive space. And I think now when it's not COVID and I can actually come to visit you and all my other teachers,
Right.
you always ask for medical updates, and you just sort of you just get how much I have on my plate, which I think means a lot, because as I've gotten older, I love my teachers, obviously, but I just think they don't have the time to get to know me as well, because it's not the same class, the same teacher. But I mean, you did a great job, and you did a great job with everyone and making things fun. And we loved 5G. I mean, I remember sometimes I'll reminisce with like Emily Calvitis about how fun 5th grade was or something, and how you would play with all your toys. And I just remember like that was, I think, the toughest grade for me to ever leave to this day. Not only like your class, but like Henley as a whole, because it's just like a nice little family over there. So
yeah, and it was the last year where that's another thing I like about the grade. I do get to know the students pretty well because I'm with them all day. It's the last year that happened, so not that your other teachers aren't completely invested, just in a different way. They don't get to know you as well because they don't get to see you as much.
Especially not this year, where our periods are like 4 a day. So we meet. I had English today. I won't meet with English again until Friday. So it's just like a really weird. So it's even less time than when it wasn't COVID.
Right. Oh, yeah. That is very different. Oh, this is such a strange year.
I know.
Right. We got a vaccine.
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, I was thinking back. I was like, shoot, if I'd known COVID was coming, I should have gone to see Miss Gale and Missy and everybody.
I know. We would have done things differently, right?
Oh, so differently. I think the last time I saw you was probably, early last year.
It was soon. You had seen. No, it wasn't soon after, but it may have been soon after your Make-A-Wish when you got to go.
Yes. Pretty soon after. Yeah, when I went to Idol. Yeah, I remember that actually, and I showed you all the pictures. And who was that? Who was that lady that Caroline loves? Miss Williams. Her. She was there.
Yes, she was there too.
Yeah.
She did get a job. Tell Caroline she got a job. It's in Massachusetts near her parents.
I think they still email, actually.
Oh, so then she knows all about it.
I think so. I don't know. I know she sent her books. I'm not going to say recently because I don't know. But I know they still email. And so I remember like when Caroline and I were both there to see you, and if I'd known COVID was coming, I would have seen you guys one more time, because I haven't seen you, Missy, Mrs. Coop, who I know is on leave for this year. I just haven't seen most people. So it makes me sad because that's like my little family.
I know, it's a sadness for us too, not to see, have our visitors or see our old friends. I miss everybody coming by to visit. Usually had a couple of visitors. They'd come by after school and say, hey, during the course of the year. I'm like, I don't get to do that anymore. I don't even get to see the other teachers. I'm in a portable.
Oh my goodness, yes, I heard. I think Margaret told me that. Oh geez. I remember Mr. Basta was in the portable.
Right, it was just him. Now all 3 5th grade teachers are out in the portable. That's where we are.
Okay. So you're not alone, but that still stinks.
Oh, we're still alone. It's not like I'm in the hallway talking to him like I would have been, right, in the building. Because we're in we can't,
Yeah.
We're in separate little buildings. It's fine. It's an interesting year.
I mean,
hey, the portables, I got windows on both sides, and when it comes to COVID, I could keep everything open. Like, wear your coats.
Yeah.
So that's good.
That is very good.
Good ventilation. I'm all about it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, thank you so much for doing this. This has given me a little bit of an energy boost for the rest of this week. And
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
thank you so much for doing this. I have missed talking to you, and I feel like you and I always have some good conversations. So thank you so much. This means a lot. To everybody listening and watching, this is one of the most inspiring women in my life 5 years later. So thank you to Miss Gale for doing this. And I'd like to remind you all that the video version of this is obviously if you're watching on YouTube, and audio will be up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, wherever else you get your podcasts. So I think we're going to end it here, but thank you so much for doing this, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye!